Joining me right now is the candidate for New York State Attorney General, Michael Henry. Michael, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to what you just heard from that MTA official?
First off, thank you very much for having me, Maria. Look, the leadership is completely out of touch here, and everyday New Yorkers are living in fear. We just saw on the Upper East Side a gentleman shoved onto the subway tracks. There has been a recent rash of subway shovings. We see a 25-year high in homicides on the New York City subway system. And what they are trying to do is tell everyday New Yorkers there is not a crime crisis. We have robberies. We have assaults. We have shovings. We have slashings. And what the New Yorkers are seeing is that crime on the subway system is off the rails. And this is why New Yorkers are going to vote to save the state on November 8th and dismiss people like my opponent, Letitia James, who clearly do not believe there is a problem, even though New Yorkers are living in fear every day that they have to get onto a subway system.
Well, it's interesting because the New York Post today is endorsing Lee Zeldin. This morning on the Post cover, they write this, save our state, as they endorse Lee Zeldin for governor. Then Peggy Noonan wrote a great op-ed in the Journal this morning saying that crime could elect a Republican in New York. Michael, how much are you dealing with pushback on cashless bail? Letitia James is the New York Attorney General, and we know that cashless bail is one of the policies of the Democrats. It has just blown up in their faces, putting criminals back on the street after they commit crimes. Tell me about your plans should you win the AG spot from Letitia James.
Sure. So I actually was also endorsed by the New York Post. I think New York Post and the Wall Street Journal see what everyday New Yorkers are seeing, and it's not Republicans, independent, it's Democrats also. That cashless bail and these other pro-criminal policies that Letitia James has supported her whole political career are not working. She ran in 2018 on cashless bail. She got what she wanted. It failed. She took the Working Family Party line this year, which says you cannot revisit any changes to cashless bail or take police and correctional union support. She recently said she needs more data before she'd revisit any changes to cashless bail. And quite frankly, that's a despicable mindset for the chief law enforcement officer of this state to have, because more data means more victims. What Michael Henry would do is Michael Henry would work in conjunction with local district attorneys to make sure they have the resources they need. She's cut off resources from a lot of more Republican district attorneys throughout this state. Secondly, I could work in conjunction with both federal and task force within the AG's office to help get crime under control. I could introduce program bills to the legislature, and then I could also use what Letitia James says is the bully pulpit. I will advocate as the Attorney General of this state for the full repeal of cashless bail, the full repeal of the less is more, which is a parole bill that is not working, and also for the amendment of the Raise the Age bill, which has led to a rash of teenage shootings. And for more information, people could go to michaelhenry4ag.com, and you could also see we have numerous amounts of police endorsements, including the State Trooper PBA. And it's pretty sad that the chief law enforcement officer of a state is struggling to get any type of police union support, which tells you where law enforcement stands and where the people of this state stand as far as trusting Michael Henry to be the person that's going to get crime under control.
Yeah, I mean, Lee Zeldin said that he is going to call a crime emergency in the first 100 minutes. He battled Kathy Hochul on stage the other night for their debate, and we want to show you a clip of that. Watch.
I'm going to declare a crime emergency and suspend cashless bail and these other pro-criminal laws because there is a crime emergency. They're not being represented from this governor, who still, to this moment, we're halfway through the debate, she still hasn't talked about locking up anyone committing any crimes.
Anyone who commits a crime under our laws, especially with the change they made to bail, has consequences. I don't know why that's so important to you.
I don't know why that's so important to you. Peggy Noonan this morning in the Journal writes, crime could elect a Republican in New York, going through all of the fears that we all have walking around New York. I think Kathy Hochul must have figured out after that debate that this is a serious issue for voters, because right after the debate, apparently New York State's National Guard were at Penn Station. They were deployed to New York City to assist overwhelmed homeless shelters dealing with the bust-in illegal migrants. The city set up 2 massive tents on Randall's Island, but they remain largely empty, Michael. So I want to get your take on why the National Guard is suddenly now at Penn Station and in New York, and your thoughts on these tent cities that have been put up to house migrants. No word on why we don't have tents for the homeless, who are all over the streets in New York, but we do have tents for those people coming from Guatemala and Venezuela and everywhere else.
And people we don't even know who they are. I mean, the humanitarian crisis is sad, but at the end of the day, this is a failure of leadership from the top down. The southern border needs to be closed because in addition to a migrant crisis, we have a fentanyl crisis that is killing people all over this country and all over this state. All 62 counties in this state have a drug problem with drugs coming out throughout this state. And the sad part is the federal government has not shut down the southern border. Look, we're treating people who are migrants better than we treat our own people, our own tax-paying citizens, our own homeless. And quite frankly, it's quite frankly despicable. We have people that are living in five-star hotels, and then we have people that are veterans that are living here homeless. And quite frankly, there needs to be pressure put on the federal government, which apparently this administration could care less. But the southern border has to be closed, and then we have to deal with this. But this is a failure from the federal government, and unfortunately, the leadership in this state does not take it serious. But quite frankly, we just saw Kathy Hochul and what she said about Lee Zeldin with crime. She doesn't understand. She apparently doesn't understand anything. And quite frankly, that's why New Yorkers, as Peggy Noonan pointed out, on November 8th are going to vote for common sense leadership and a common sense comeback, and they know Michael Henry and Lee Zeldin are going to provide that.
Yeah. All right. We will leave it there and we'll be watching. Michael, thanks very much.